Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. My name is Tim Harris. I'm pastor at Woodburn Baptist Church at 10 o'clock. It means it's time for 10 with Tim. Each day, Monday through Friday, we go verse by verse through the Word of God. And today we're in Genesis chapter 28. Genesis chapter 28. This is good. I love this part of the book. I know, I love it all. So it doesn't do me any good to tell you that I love this, but y'all know I do. I love this. So chapter 27 is that entire, amazing story of how Jacob ends up stealing the blessing from his brother Esau. You got this dysfunctional family of four, a mom, a dad, two sons. And in all of this amazing way that the story unfolds, you never have more than two people in a scene together. I think that's fascinating. So inevitably that scene is, that story is 7 scenes long, and the last 2 scenes are in chapter 28 at the beginning here. And I just remind you, you never see more than 2 family members in the conversation. So in the beginning of chapter 28, it comes back to Isaac and Jacob. Now Isaac, we know he knows that he's been, snookered by Jacob. And so he sends for Jacob, and you think, all right, finally Jacob's going to get what's coming to him. He's been found out. He's been exposed. Isaac knows, Isaac's going to call him in and bless him upside the head, but that's not what happens. That's not what happens. Isaac calls him in and blesses him again, and then blesses him on top of blessing him. It's like, what? Sends him away to find his wife, over among, Laban's daughters. He says, I want you to go marry one of Uncle Laban's daughters. Spoiler alert, he's going to marry both of them. But at any rate, he says, go marry one of Uncle Laban's daughters. Don't you dare marry one of these Canaanite women, because they don't share the same God, right? And so Isaac goes away, and he's going to show up next with Uncle Laban. So the last part of this, wrapping up this story, is Esau. Now, again, I don't mean to make fun of Esau, y'all, but he's just all belly and no brains. He's just so very dim-witted, it just hurts. It really does. And honestly, I think this passage here is supposed to, make you really see, man, this dude is slow, So it goes through, the verses move at the pace at which Esau thinks, So it's like, Esau knew that his father Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to find a wife. And he knows that he warned Jacob, you must not marry a Canaanite woman. And he knows that Jacob obeyed. It's like we're just walking through it, painstakingly as all of these, things finally click in Esau's, slow brain. And so now it says, now it's very clear to Esau that his mother and father don't like local Canaanite women, as daughters-in-law, So it's like, now, I remind you, Esau's got 2 of them. Like, he's already got 2 of them, but now he realizes they don't like that. So Esau, now he decides, okay, they don't like Canaanite women, so I don't need, I don't need to, marry another Canaanite woman. So he does he's dull, but he's really trying to please. So Esau goes out and marries one of the daughters of Uncle Ishmael. Okay, now technically she's not a Canaanite. So Esau's like, man, this is going to win me some points here. I'll probably be in the Bible after this. It's like, oh man, you're just, oh gosh, bless your heart, you really tried there, and that's the point. Like, he really tried. Like, okay, they don't like Canaanite women. Maybe I'll just take another wife. Add number 3 and this one won't be a Canaanite, but dude, so what this does is just sort of, it forever seals, Esau in that association with Ishmael. And so therefore, these 2 rejected sons, so to speak, now they are, somehow linked together, and that's the way that story will go. Anyway, God bless Esau. God bless him, he's slow on it. But anyway, let's jump on, because the next part is so good. Verse 10. Now, the question becomes, is Jacob really going to just get away with this? Is he never going to have to answer for this? I mean, like, you just don't get to, rob your father blind, and steal from your brother, you don't get to do all that, and just, skate away, do you? So Jacob's now he's backtracking the very, trail of Abraham, going back to where Abraham came from. He's, doing what his father told him to do. And then, this night, he finds a good place to camp. And the passage focuses on that word place. In the Hebrew, I think it's used 6 times. It's just an anonymous place. It's just a place. It's just a place. But that place becomes the house of God. He names it Bethel, right? Like this place, this ordinary place becomes a place where God appears to him. And so finally, Jacob's going to have to answer to God. Like if I'm reading through this, I'm thinking, come on down, the Lord. And would you just flatten him? Would you give him what he deserves? But that's not what happens. Instead, Jacob got another blessing from his daddy, and now God comes down, and God just whispers the sweetest things ever to Jacob. It's like, what? 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 Yeah. As fun as it is to pretend that Jacob, should have gotten something different from God, I'm so grateful that this is how God deals with the Jacobs of the world, because can we just say it? I mean, you and I, we are Jacobs of the world, God doesn't deal with Jacob based on Jacob's worthiness, based on what Jacob deserves. Because if Jacob got what he deserves, he would be buried in the sand, at Bethel. But no, God deals with Jacob according to God's own freedom and God's own goodness and grace. And so God comes down and just gives to Jacob this unconditionally beautiful promise. I love you. I will never leave you. And I want to bless your life. Man, that is not what Jacob deserves, but that's the unconditional promise that God gives him. And it is absolutely beautiful. This stairway, this ramp, to heaven in 2 directions, right? Up and down. I think it's intentionally supposed to bring back to you like memories of the Tower of Babel, where they were going to try to build, a stairway, a building, a tower that would reach to heaven, but they didn't get very far, but here God just, unrolls it from heaven. Later, Jesus himself will say that he is that, that ladder, that connecting point between heaven and earth. He says, and what is it? John, I wrote it down. John chapter 1, is it 151? I think it's John chapter 1, verse 51, where Jesus says, you're going to see the angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man. It's Jesus pointing back to this, that stairway that reaches heaven and earth. Jesus says, I am that connection between heaven and earth. So if you want to know how God deals with the Jacobs of the world, he deals with us all the same way. He gives us all the same access because of Jesus, the same access to the Father, this ladder that goes to heaven. But notice it goes in 2 directions. God gives to Jacob this unconditional promise, but then Jacob's got to respond, right? I mean, God always just comes down, stands at the door and knocks, and then he waits for us to respond. So I'm just kind of blown away by the beauty of God's unconditional promise to Jacob and then Jacob's conditional response. I mean, God has said, I love you. I'll never leave you. I'm going to bless your life. And Jacob says, oh, okay, well, obviously this place was not just no place. This was a special place. God is here. I love that. I just ask you right now, what place in your life are you convinced is just, no place special? What place could you say, man, this was actually a holy place and I didn't know it. This is a place where God would show up and I didn't know it. Is it work? Is it in your marriage? Is it in a relationship? Man, I thought this was the most God-forsaken place in the world, but God was here and I didn't know it. I love that. So Jacob has enough sense to recognize, man, God is here. God is here. And he hears God's unconditional promise. And so Jacob responds conditionally. He says, well, if you'll indeed be with me, and if you'll provide for me food and fancy clothes, and if you'll bring me back safely home, if, then I'll let you be my God. We'll try this out. You do what I want you to do, and then, God, I got you on probation, So Jacob responds. He postpones a wholehearted commitment, right? And what he gives God is this half-hearted, conditional, commitment. Okay, this guy's flying straight up my nose about now. What about you? I mean, like, are you kidding me? God just gave you this beautiful promise, and you come back with well, if you do this for me, then I'll let you be. I will let you be my God. Oh no. So, really, yeah, really. It's just the start, y'all. It's just the start. Jacob's going to go a long way with this God. And his decision up front to sort of keep God at a distance, he's going to pay for that. He's going to wish he had God closer before this story. And before long, he's going to tangle up very closely with this God. But make no mistake, it's a start. And God will always, just sort of start where you are. And this is where Jacob is. Turns out where he is just an ordinary place, but it turns out to be a place that the God is there. Probably same as you. So let me just wrap up by saying this. God gives you the same unconditional promise. God says to you, I love you. I will never leave you. I want to bless your life. This is what God gives you the same unconditional promise through Jesus. I love you. I will never leave you. I'm going to bless your life. So how will you respond? How will you respond? Jacob gives a half-hearted, if, then, and no, don't do that, God says, I love you, I'll never leave you, I want to bless your life. Let him bless your life. Yeah, unconditionally. Pick up right there tomorrow, chapter 29, verses 1 to 14. He didn't get what he deserved from his father Isaac, and he didn't get exactly what he deserved from God, but I'm telling you one thing, Jacob is about to get the father-in-law he deserves, and it's kind of fun to watch. So join me tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Lord willing, 10 with Tim, Genesis chapter 29. I love you guys. Listen, it's a yucky day out there, so stay inside, stay in the Word, and I'll see you